KSLA News 12 starts with breaking news.
That breaking news coming out of Shreveport has a massive police presence. Over 40 Shreveport police and Caddo Parish deputy units. I'm going to start off with Jeff Farrell right now. Jeff, what do you know from where you are?
If anybody's been watching so far, especially on Facebook, they'll know that we're in a different spot than we were just 15 minutes ago. We started about 2 blocks that way. Then, after police moved us once, we were 2 blocks away. Now we are 3 blocks away as they worry more and more about potential shots being fired. Now we have from several sources now telling us that shots were fired at about 11 a.m. or so, and that's when the first calls came in of those overall 40 units. Now, from what we are understanding from witnesses and off the record from some people is that it may have been shots fired at an officer. At that point, we understand that the potential suspect ran away into a house nearby, and that's where the situation has unfolded. We have seen people coming and going. Now, when we were live earlier, this is an important point to make, that when we were live earlier, their officers came and later talked to us, the SRT team, and said, do not show the actual scene because they're very worried that the people inside the house may see something tactically. So it's almost better that we're this far away so that there's no chance of that happening. But that's how tenuous this situation is. And it's, you know, it is a scary situation. And we don't know if, for example, one of our questions is, and we had heard that there might be a person in there with that suspect.
Josh Robertson also live near that area right now, and he is standing by live. Josh, what do you know and where are you?
Well, guys, we're right here right now on the corner of St. Vincent Avenue and Lash Street with a lot of activity going on behind us. The fire department just sped down this road with an EMS unit as well, and I'm joined right now. I've got Corporal Marcus Hines with Shreveport Police, and he's just going to kind of talk. There's a lot of people here listening. Give us a little bit of information. Marcus, go ahead.
Well, what I can tell you right now, Shreveport Police did respond to a call just after 1 o'clock p.m. regarding right before 11 o'clock a.m. about a man who was firing shots in the 1300 block of Camille Street. Now, when officers arrived on scene, reports of additional shots being fired were received. We do not know at this point if there's any additional persons inside the home where the shots were fired. We did get reports of someone inside the home screaming. Police do have contact with the man who we've identified inside the home. We cannot pass along that name right now.
Jeff Farrell again standing by. He's been moved back a couple times from closer to that scene. Jeff, any updates?
Now, from what we understand from people right around this area and from ones running past us to get by, that at least 2 gunshots have gone off within the last 3.5 minutes.
I've been working in this Shreveport market now for 6, 7, up to 8 years, and it's rare that you see this type of police presence. Only when police officers have been shot or shot at do you see this type of police presence. We're going to go live to Josh. Josh, we just heard from Marcus Hines that a police officer was shot, injured, shot in the wrist, expected to be okay. You were at the staging area. What did you see when all this was unfolding?
Well, Shane, it's been very hectic, and a lot of things still need to be answered. The fortunate news so far that we can tell you is that we know that the officer who was shot, it was a non-life-threatening injury. Marcus Hines just confirmed that with us. We were live on Facebook if you happen to be watching that. We're at the staging area. He's been coming periodically to give us some updates, and he did tell us that that officer was shot in the wrist-arm area, and he is expected to be okay. The bad news is that that victim that was also shot, the woman that he mentioned during this incident when it unfolded, those injuries are considered to be very serious. They're considered to be life-threatening. We do not have any update other than that at this time. We know that the person who was responsible, or the suspect who was taken in just a few moments ago from the house that he barricaded himself in, it is still an active scene. There's still police here, still staging area, still Shreveport Fire Department. So we're going to stay out here and try to get you any new information. But again, it does seem that for now, this incident has come to an end as that suspect is again in custody with police.
Did you see those ambulances arrive? What's going on where you are, Nicolette?
Yeah, Shane. So I got here about 10 minutes ago or so, and I was over at the corner of Linwood and Kings Highway, and I was stopped at the stoplight trying to turn left to get to where we are in front of the emergency room, and that's when I heard some ambulances coming up from behind me. That was the first of 3 ambulances that I've seen so far come right now. And as you can see behind me, there are still some ambulances here and a large police presence. Several officers came up not too long ago, each one with one of the ambulances, and then a couple others after those ambulances left. And you can see right there, there are an ambulance in front of the emergency room, as well as some police cars also parked out there. It has been kind of hectic getting here. A lot of people are trying to figure out what's going on and trying to see exactly what's happening, because there is a heavy presence as well as a little bit of hecticness in the air. So, Shane, that was the first I had heard that there actually was an officer that was injured and a woman injured. This was the first information that I got of that. So we are still trying to get some information here as to what is going on here at this minute. But I was here when those ambulances did show up.
Very high tense, high emotional situation for people in that community. When you have a community of that size, people know each other. People work with each other. People go to school with each other. This is a live shot as we speak right now. As you can see there, a large number of people. It looks like they're rushing away from that scene, and not sure what news they've gotten, but you can see they're very, very emotional.
This is KSLA News 12 at 5.
All I know, I was up on the ladder, and I heard about 7 shots. And then I seen the dude run out the back door.
I just need to make sure that my brother is okay, and my nieces and nephews.
Shots have possibly been fired at police.
Now, when officers arrived on scene, reports of additional shots being fired were received.
Jeff, any updates?
2 shots, gunshots, have gone off within the last 3.5 minutes.
And we really need to pray for our city, because we are killing up each other.
And late this afternoon, a number of new developments coming down literally in the last hour about this heartbreaking tragedy in the Caddo Heights neighborhood of Shreveport.
Doug, that's right. We're live here at the Caddo Correction Center. And if you saw my live at 4, you would have seen that I was previously in front of the Shreveport Police Department. Now, right now, we're following 36-year-old Jonathan T. Robinson. Now, Shreveport police officers say they will give us an update and give us more information on exactly what happened earlier later on today.
We also discovered something today that is both extremely hard to watch and heartbreaking. It is a Facebook live stream that was shared with us. So this right here is just a still image from that live stream showing who we believe to be the shooting victim right here at the bottom of your screen. From what we can tell, she was being forced to live stream this, and that is the shadow we believe to be of the gunman behind her. In newsroom discussions today, we have discussed the relevance and the importance of this video. We do not take this lightly. Understand this will likely be a big part of police evidence for their case. Well, tonight at 6, we will share parts of that video. We will take you inside, showing you the terror as it unfolds. That's coming up at 6 o'clock. Entire neighborhood literally on lockdown at one point, Jeff.
Oh, it was, and for several hours, for at least 3 or 4 blocks. We should point out it has been, to put it mildly, a very emotional day.
An officer has been shot, a woman being held against her will by a gunman, dead, and the gunman under arrest tonight. It has been a very long day, to say the least, for the Shreveport Police Department and many living in the Caddo Heights neighborhood. And that right there, that is our first look at the alleged gunman, 36-year-old Jonathan Robinson. We have team coverage tonight. KSLA News 12's Jasmine Payute live outside the Caddo Correctional Center, where the suspect was rushed over to this afternoon. Eric Pointer following the condition of that officer at the hospital, and Jeff Farrell talking with Caddo Heights neighbors. But first, we talked about it at 5. Disturbing video has surfaced on social media from what is believed to be coming from inside the home there on Natalie Street where this all took place. A friend of the victim shared that video with us. I must warn you here, the video is graphic and unsettling. KSLA News 12's Marie Waxel explains.
This video captures the sheer terror in the moments leading up to the shooting. Early in the video, you can hear another man's voice, only for a brief moment. The woman here identifies herself as Nunu and is being ordered to apologize by a man believed to be the suspected shooter, Jonathan Robinson.
Hey, y'all. This Nunu. I apologize for going live on Rika. I ain't had no business doing all that. My page been blocked, so that's why I'm going live. Yes, I know I was wrong. I ain't have no business going off like that, but...
See right there. See right there. Everybody want to be famous. I'm going to make you famous.
Yes.
What?
I am sorry, y'all.
In the video shared through Facebook Live in real time, you can see the fear in the woman's eyes as she apologizes. A man believed to be Robinson paces behind her, yelling profanities.
No.
You want to be famous? I'm going to make you famous.
No.
No. Everybody want to be famous, let's be famous today.
Okay.
Huh?
The gunman then begins to yell at police outside the home, and that's where we're going to stop the video. It's too horrifying to show the rest. Seconds later, the man starts shooting. The woman begs him to stop. She's no longer on the camera, and the phone then drops to the floor, and you no longer hear her. We're now waiting on police to positively ID the gunman and the woman only identified as Nunu in this video.
Right now, we have KSLA News 12's Jasmine Payute live outside where Robinson has been taken, the Caddo Correctional Center. New developments the last few hours on that suspect.
Doug, an action-packed day today. I'm at the Caddo Correctional Center because this is where 36-year-old Jonathan T. Robinson is. Now today, because of his actions, Robinson single-handedly took the focus of more than 40 police officers.
KSLA News 12's Eric Porter live outside University Health. That's where the Shreveport police officer was treated after being shot today. Eric, what's the latest on his injuries?
Well, the latest on the police officer's injuries is that he is expected to be okay.
And we now turn our team coverage to KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell. He's out where this all began late this morning in the Caddo Heights neighborhood. Latest, you've been talking to a lot of neighbors there. This is just one wild day for them, right?
Oh, it really is. And one of the first things that really stands out to you when you come back to a scene like this is that it is much quieter than it was just a few short hours ago. And that's despite the fact a large number of people have returned here to the scene of the crime that all unfolded early this afternoon. We later met a mother who lives nearby and was terrified about what could have been with her loved ones so close to the shooting.
I just need to make sure that my brother is okay and my nieces and nephews. Everything else, this is my
You were
nerves.
upset about the...
Because, yes, they shooting his children and my brother is in his house and you still won't let us go check on him.
And that is the shadow we believe to be of the gunman behind her. KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell breaks down the chain of events during a very long and emotional day.
A tragedy unfolded in Shreveport's Caddo Heights neighborhood when police say an alleged gunman, 36-year-old Jonathan Robinson, fatally shot a woman reportedly being held against her will.
We've uncovered Robinson's criminal record. Shows he had a violent past. Among his previous charges, he took a plea deal for an aggravated second-degree battery charge in 2005. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of domestic abuse battery. We discussed the relevance and the importance of this video, but also the ethical use of it, which we also take very seriously. Shreveport Police has scheduled a news conference tomorrow morning at 11:30. That's when they plan to share more details of the shooting and Robinson's past. Again, that news conference at 11:30 tomorrow morning. We'll stream it live for you on our KSLA News 12 mobile app and coverage on KSLA News 12 at noon.
We'll get back to programming in a bit, but we are standing by for a live news conference at the Shreveport Police Department following the latest breaking news on the deadly shooting in Shreveport's Caddo Heights neighborhood Thursday. We are moments away from that news conference. As you can see there, Police Chief Alan Crump making his way to the podium. There's a live look at the scene. Let's listen in. Breaking at noon, officials have just wrapped up a press conference with an update on the tragedy in Caddo Heights from Thursday. Shreveport Police has confirmed the suspect in this Facebook Live video that's been circulating all across social media is in fact 36-year-old Jonathan Robinson. Jeff Farrell, who was live at that press conference. Jeff, the police chief had some things to say, some updates. You have him there with you now. What's going on?
I sure do. In fact, this news conference wrapped up a short time ago, and he briefed us on what he could say and what he couldn't. Chief is joining us now live. What's probably the number one thing you want to get across to the citizenry after a day like we had yesterday?
Well, how important it is for the safety and welfare of our citizens, and sometimes the unfortunate turn that relationships can have.
There's a lot to unpack from this story, but that's why we'll be covering this all day long. Reporting live here at Police Headquarters, Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff.
We've been digging deeper into the criminal past of the suspect, Jonathan Robinson. Our chief investigative reporter, Stacey Cameron, shows us what he's uncovered.
In an ongoing murder investigation,
we may try to answer as many questions as we can.
Where the suspect,
Jonathan Robinson,
is already in custody after allegedly killing Renita Williams and wounding a Shreveport police officer.
He's in jail for second-degree murder and convicted felon in possession of a firearm.
KSLA Investigates is learning more about 36-year-old Jonathan Robinson, a man who, according to court documents, has a long arrest record. KSLA uncovered documents showing police taking Robinson into custody 12 times over the past 19 years. And despite a growing rap sheet, these papers show him serving very little time in prison. For example, Robinson was twice arrested for murder. A first-degree murder charge in 2000 that was dismissed, and a second-degree murder charge in 2005. In that case, Robinson pleaded guilty to aggravated second-degree battery and sentenced to 7 years hard labor. This happening.
There's been a lot of people come and go since I first started.
While Paul Carmouche served as Caddo Parish District Attorney. During Charles Scott's time as DA, Robinson was arrested twice on drug charges. And since James Stewart took over the DA's office,
it's a lot different than what we do.
Robinson has been arrested 3 more times. In this 2015 case, where Robinson was accused of domestic abuse, false imprisonment, simple battery, and resisting arrest, police records state that Robinson rammed a female victim off the road in a car, hit her in the face, then used the woman as a shield when police tried arresting him. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of domestic abuse battery in that case back in 2016, getting a year in prison, but that sentence was suspended with probation. Now, just 16 months later, Robinson is back here behind bars in Caddo Parish. Here, I have a warrant from Robinson's last run-in with the law before yesterday's tragic murder in Caddo Heights. This is from June 2016. It shows Robinson being charged with armed robbery, and according to documents, he robbed a man in a car and had an SK-47 in his possession. But like so many criminal cases against Robinson, the charges in this one were dismissed as well by prosecutors. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron.
Community members come together to remember the woman killed in a deadly shooting in Caddo Heights this week that also wounded a police officer in the wrist. This was the scene in that neighborhood tonight as friends and family came together to remember Renita Williams. She was reportedly held hostage Thursday by the alleged gunman, 36-year-old Jonathan Robinson, before her life was tragically taken in a shooting that was also broadcast on Facebook Live.
I believe when the community come together, not just in situations like this, but when the community come together on various issues, we can make a real difference and we can truly affect change. And so I'm just excited to see everybody here to show love and support to our sister, our friend, our classmate, a loving mother, a great daughter, and that's Renita Williams. Everybody knew her as Nunu.
He didn't care nothing about her begging for her life. And he shot her too many times. And look what you shot her with, that big old gun.
I thought when you have time to think about what you're going to do, that's called premeditated murder.
That's the family of murder victim Renita Williams after today's court hearing for the so-called Facebook Live killer. They're upset after the attorney of the accused laid out groundwork for an insanity defense in the high-profile case.
Jonathan Robinson is suspected of killing Williams in her home on April 12th. He allegedly made the 27-year-old mother of three live stream on Facebook just moments before fatally shooting her and shooting at police officers during that standoff. KSLA Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron in studio with us now. You were in the courtroom earlier today when this all kind of played out, and I gather we went in there thinking this would be a standard arraignment, but then it ended up igniting a lot of anger in the end.
Yeah, a lot of anger, Doug, emotion, upset, angry, tears from the family.
Gunned down in her own home. Loved ones and friends are still trying to make sense of the tragedy. Meanwhile, her alleged killer, Jonathan Robinson, faces first-degree murder. But with a long and violent criminal past, KSLA Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron tells us some people are asking why Robinson was out of prison and free in the first place.
In the wake of the horror and the heartache of April 12, 2018, the day Renita Williams, a mother of three small children, was shot and killed, her murder streamed live on Facebook. A portrait of her suspected killer, Jonathan Robinson, quickly emerged. According to court records, he's a violent felon who served more than 10 years in prison for aggravated battery and robbery. But as I examined his rap sheet, a criminal history spanning 19 years, one case stood out. On the last day of July 2014 in the Allendale neighborhood of Shreveport, narcotics officers set their sights on this house after getting tips from neighbors that Jonathan Robinson and his brother were allegedly selling drugs here. According to an investigative report, the Robinson brothers and another man were sitting on this porch when officers arrived. A quick search of the area turned up drugs, cash, and a gun. And all three men were arrested for possession with intent to distribute crack cocaine. For his part in the alleged crime, Robinson faced a minimum of 5 years hard labor if convicted, but it turns out he never faced that drug charge in court. Wanting to know why, I filed a public records request with the district attorney's office. Reviewing the criminal file, I discovered a legal fight over $3,000 froze the case for nearly 2 years, with prosecutors finally dismissing the charges in 2017 without explanation.
Criminal cases generally shouldn't last that long.
Jay Florence is a criminal lawyer hired to represent the man arrested alongside the Robinson brothers. Looking back, Florence says the case never got on a normal track.
It was a case that could have and should have ended, again, this is just my judgment, no more than 6 months.
Because the court appointed a corporate lawyer to defend Robinson, not a criminal attorney. Something, he says, happened a lot back in 2014 because the Caddo Parish Public Defender's Office was going broke. Facing too many cases and not enough cash, Florence says courts started assigning lawyers with no criminal experience to represent defendants for free, which he says became a big problem.
To say the person's not qualified, it's not a disrespect to them, it's just a reality. It's not what they do.
Because some civil attorneys who didn't want to defend criminal clients found ways to get out of unwanted assignments, like filing motions to delay the cases.
So a lot of the civil lawyers, they did come in and filed all kinds of motions, attempting to go all the way to the Supreme Court to, again, delay, to make the point that, hey, we're not qualified, you need to take us off these cases.
In the Robinson drug case, I found one motion that brought everything to a standstill for almost 2 years. You see, the court-appointed corporate lawyer wanted $3,000 to initiate an investigation, but when both the local and state public defender's offices said they didn't have the funds, Robinson's lawyer filed a motion to stay the case.
Which basically means everything is frozen. My client and I objected because our argument was, hey, we're ready to proceed. We're ready to go forward. We're ready to try this case to prove that my client is innocent. But we had to wait.
Starting with the trial court, then the Court of Appeal here in Shreveport, Robinson's attorney took the battle for $3,000 all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, losing each time. Still practicing with a prominent Shreveport law firm, I tried emailing and calling the attorney,
This is Stacy Cameron with KSLA.
Wanting to talk about the case, but my messages went unanswered.
We punish the criminals. We catch them, and they, if they committed the crime and they don't have a good defense, they go to jail.
Ken Levy is a professor of criminal law at LSU. He reviewed the case.
He had a long rap sheet, and my understanding is not much of a defense to the latest crimes that he was being charged with. He probably would have gone to jail for a long time.
And told me the motion arguing for $3,000 clearly put the brakes on the case.
If the defense had been given enough money to fund the case, he probably would have been prosecuted, convicted, and in jail.
While Robinson's lawyer never got the money for an investigation, it didn't matter in the end, because in March of 2017, the district attorney's office dismissed the drug case, a move that completely surprised Florence because he didn't expect prosecutors to drop the case once Robinson's lawyer lost his motion.
You didn't expect this case to be dismissed?
No, I was expecting for me and my client to go to trial and for us to win at trial.
And that would have been the same with the other two defendants. You expected those cases to go to trial or a plea bargain somewhere.
And whatever the result would be, correct.
With the case almost 3 years old in 2017, Florence thinks the DA's office finally decided to cut its losses and walk away from it when one of the defendants, Robinson's brother,
not my client, but one of the other individuals,
got convicted on separate drug charges in Texas, meaning Robinson and Florence's client were off the hook.
Because this case had been stayed and floating around in our court system for so long, it was just easier for the prosecutor at this time to dismiss the case and be done with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, no prosecutor came and told me that, but I would be foolish to believe that's not what happened.
In fact, reviewing the case file, I discovered a note reading, "Due order of dismissal on all, defendant doing 25 years in Texas." But during an exclusive interview,
that case started more than a year and a half before I got here.
Caddo Parish District Attorney James Stewart explained why the drug charges against Robinson went away.
It was a constructive possession case. And in a constructive possession case, the loss is mere presence around either drugs or around someone else is not necessarily constructive possession.
According to the arresting officer's report in the case, police didn't find any drugs on Robinson, and the crack recovered at the scene was underneath a doghouse next door to the house where Robinson was sitting on the porch.
This case was dismissed because it wasn't a prosecutable case, and one of the other defendants was convicted somewhere else. So it's one of those cases, the only way you'll get a conviction is if the defendant pleads, okay? And the defendants did not plead, and it was time to make a decision on the case, and it wasn't prosecutable.
13 months after the dismissal of prosecution was filed, Renita Williams was shot and killed in her own home. While Robinson now faces first-degree murder charges and the death penalty, Professor Levy says Williams' death is a tragedy criminal justice should have prevented.
He should have been punished much more severely for many of his crimes. He should have been in jail. This worked out for the defendant, but it didn't work out for society.
The murder case against Robinson goes back to court on Monday, but money is once again delaying his prosecution. Due to funding cuts, there's a lack of public defenders qualified to try death penalty cases here in Northwest Louisiana. So right now, Robinson doesn't have an attorney who can defend his case at trial. I'll be in the courtroom next week and keep you updated on what happens. For now, I'm KSLA Chief Investigative Reporter Stacy Cameron.
And if you would like to see Stacy's full interview with Caddo Parish District Attorney James Stewart, go to our webpage, ksla.com, and you'll find it under the Investigative tab in our news section. Frustration continues to mount today in the case of the alleged Facebook Live killer, Jonathan Robinson. Both Robinson and the family of Renita Williams, his alleged victim, are growing annoyed with inaction in the courthouse. KSLA News 12's Christian Picos was in court all day and joins me in the studio tonight. And Christian, why can't this case move forward, and how is Renita's family holding up?
Tom, outside the Caddo Parish Courthouse, Renita's family tells me they are exhausted. Robinson's case hasn't progressed months after her death was streamed live on Facebook. The reason the trial hasn't begun yet is because Robinson still doesn't have a defense attorney suitable for his case. Now remember, The Caddo Parish District Attorney is seeking the death penalty for Robinson, but due to funding cuts, there's a lack of qualified defenders in Northwest Louisiana, delaying the trial. Robinson was visibly irritated in court today, even blurting out, quote, "Get this over with, it's a bunch of nonsense." Meanwhile, Renita's family quietly sat in the back of the courtroom. They have a stern and emotional message for attorneys on both sides of the case.
Louisiana is Louisiana, no matter where the lawyers come from. They should be here to represent, not have both mothers sitting there waiting, constantly coming, they're not doing anything, not giving them no feedback. That's very tiring. That's very hurtful for anybody.
Now, representatives from the Louisiana Public Defenders Board and the Caddo Parish District Attorney's Office argued over how Robinson is still left without a proper defense attorney. Now keep your KSLA News 12 app close as we learn more details about Robinson's coming court appearances and what's next in his case.